right on.
Very easy.
And that's it. Welcome back to Defender of the Riff. I'm Daniel Dekay. I'm hanging out with Niklas Karlsson from Orbit Culture, our first Swedish guest on the show, and also our first Drop A guest on the show.
Oh, shit.
Hell yeah, a lot of firsts today. Welcome, man.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's our first time in this studio playing through cabs that were once owned by Dimebag and then gifted to Tommy Victor of Danzig and Prong. A lot of firsts today.
It's pretty sick.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Pretty sexy, too.
Yeah.
I like that the crank logo's covered up on this one, but not on that one.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get down to it. Appreciate you for joining me for the show. Just two dudes hanging out with two guitars and talking about the shit that matters.
Yes.
You and I have never hung out before. Would love to get to know you and kind of your musical origin story. I'm really interested in what the first musical sounds you heard, your introduction to music, whether it was through family or you figuring it out on your own. Bring me back to the very beginning.
I think I was around 7, maybe slightly younger, but we had this Swedish TV show called Sikta mot stjärnorna, where like small, young kids dressed up and did like playback songs of like artists, and I remember there were some kids who did a Kiss song, and they like in full makeup and everything, and that was like, holy shit, that was so cool. And then I asked my mom, like, can you get me one of those Kiss CDs? And I got one for my birthday, and yeah, that was the start of it.
Okay, we got to stop right out the gate. You're speaking my language. Kiss is my favorite band ever.
Awesome.
What Kiss record was it?
I think it was the Greatest Hits. Ooh. When they're like in the letters, the black one.
It's my first one too. That's the one. Yeah, that was the era, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, the black cover with the silver. Yeah, and they're all in it. The live shots. Yeah.
Fucking sick.
Dude, that one was great.
Yes.
So what were the songs that kind of stuck out on that as a kid hearing it?
Detroit Rock City. Yes.
So good.
Yep. And I mean, it was the Greatest Hit, so I guess they had all the hit songs, but like Shouted Out Loud and shit like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. So mom caves right away and buys you the Kiss CD.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
No questions asked.
Nope. And Ace Frehley, like being my all-time, the first guitar hero that I ever had. So yeah, thought he was so fucking cool.
Dude, we're off to a great start, because I won't say who it was, but the first thing that happened before the cameras were rolling when you sat down is I asked you about a specific band that I love, and you were like, I don't really like them, and I'm like, awesome, we're off to a great start. Now you're busting out that Ace Frehley's your favorite guitar player of all time, your first original guitar hero. Yep. We're totally back on track.
Awesome.
So you get obsessed with the Spaceman, as very easy as a kid to get obsessed with that sound and the look. What happens next?
I mean, I rolled the tape a few years ahead, and I finally got my first guitar, a Behringer with this very tiny amp. Sounded like shit. But I did as many other kids, just stood in the mirror trying to like replicate how Kiss looked. And it just sound like complete shit, but after a while, I really got into like Guitar Pro, if you remember that.
Of course.
Software. And I downloaded that when I was like 12, 13. And I started to put in all these numbers, didn't know what the fuck I was doing, couldn't even play. But starting to make sense. Like a 3 there is a 3, like the 3rd fret and shit like that.
So you're like building your own tabs, just like...
Yeah, and I tried to download like, this Metallica, what is Metallica? I will download that. And oh fuck, I'm not ready for that shit.
So it's interesting, you're like almost like composing your own music from a young age via Guitar Pro.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I guess that would kind of lead, it's like foreshadowing to kind of the musical journey that you would take with a big focus on writing and production, right?
Absolutely correct, yeah.
That's awesome. So where were you growing up in Sweden?
I grew up in a very, very small town called Askerud. It's located like in between Gothenburg and Stockholm, just in between there. But, very small town. But I went to school in a slightly bigger town, but not many were doing music until I started high school. That's where everybody started doing music and having bands and shit. Yeah.
So what, I want to point out, obviously the fact you're Swedish, and for those that don't know, there's a large emphasis on music and arts in the Swedish education system. It's a very, very cool thing that I've always found unique to Sweden, and perhaps that's why from, our death metal heroes to our pop music heroes, a lot of the best songwriting is out of Sweden. Can you kind of break down for me what it is that the Swedish education system emphasizes about music, and for people who aren't familiar with how that all exists and how it plays into your life?
I can only talk from my own experience, I guess. Obviously, I know the Swedish school system is very encouraging to do art and music and all that stuff. But for me, it was I started 7th grade, and I had this great music teacher, and she like encouraged everybody to sing, even the most shy kid or stuff like that. And she just unlocked something in many people that's a gift. And she made like the most shy kid sing like a fucking angel in front of 300 people.
Wow.
Yeah. So she helped me, like, because I was like, oh, I can't sing, but I was gonna do this talent show for some reason. And I couldn't sing a fucking note, but then she like just played the piano, and then she heard something, and then she heard my like raspy voice that I have. She was like, what is that? We need that. Then she just built that up. So yeah, so thank you, Mia, for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, in North America, like when you tell someone that you want to be in a band, or you're in a band, or that you're into music as a career, like it's often looked upon as like a second class type of life, and or that'll never happen for you. It's kind of looked down upon. And I always found it interesting that some of my most successful Swedish friends who have very normal lives and jobs in Sweden, they're like hailed for the fact that they are also musicians. It's like here you're a musician, you come back, you work at Burger King, or you're bar backing or something. In Sweden, you could be a university professor who also goes on tour with their band around the world. It's like a very normal and respected thing. The value of arts and music is super cool in Sweden.
And obviously we have those guys like Max Martin, but they are like in a league of their own.
Yes.
But in the core, they're just nerds that happen to be spending a lot of time doing music back in Sweden, which made a great career here, I guess.
Of course.
Yeah.
So you're talking about unlocking this raspy voice as a young kid.
Yeah.
Who or what were you emulating? Is that more Paul Stanley type of raspy voice?
It's definitely Hetfield.
Okay.
And that's what I hear, these days too.
Yeah.
But during the same time, I really started to listen to Metallica, which is my all-time favorite band now.
I mean, the guitar speaks for itself.
It does, right? Yeah. But no, it came naturally obviously because of her, and then finding Metallica during the same time. But also, I kind of have been forgetting about this one band from Tulsa.
Oklahoma?
Yeah. I went to a Kiss show in Stockholm around 2008 or something, and it was this opening band from Tulsa, right? Crooked X.
Okay.
And they were like 14 years old, and they fucking slayed. They're not around anymore, unfortunately, but that's I was the same age as him on stage. I was like, how the fuck does he do that? With his voice? It's like he sounds like a fucking 35-year-old man up there. So then I tried to like replicate how he sounded along with Hetfield, and then my voice came in there somewhere.
So by 14, you're already kind of looking at other singers and trying to craft your voice and find your voice. When does guitar stop being about shadow playing open strings in the mirror and start to become about, all right, time to like learn some chords or theory? Or what was your journey with that?
The thing was that I always viewed this as a tool to write songs. That's what I wanted to do from a very early age. So this for me is a tool to write songs. But I started to record through a fucking SingStar mic into my small amp into Audacity, if you remember that.
Yeah, of course.
And just did some demos, like, holy shit, I made a song. That's fucking sick. So, and then, it's just been rolling
That's awesome, because some kids are obsessed. I mean, I'm guilty of it, obsessed with learning covers. So for me, I would like get a new Metallica album. I got to learn every song on the Metallica album. And that was part of my journey. It seems like for you, you were always had that creative bug to want to create, even from the time when you didn't even know what numbers you were putting into Guitar Pro to recording your own songs. It's always been in you.
I think so. And I have so much respect for people like you who learn, but I mean, I'm not that good of a guitar player. I like to write songs. Like that's my main goal, and I've accepted that. Like I will never be able to like sweep and shit. But if I can write a good song, that's good enough for me.
Yeah, it's actually something I wanted to touch on to perhaps later in our discussion, but it comes up organically, so let's run with it. Is, you know, you are one of the true, you know, songwriters in your genre. I've heard you talk about it a lot in past interviews. How, you know, your writing style is less about, you know, the flash and the sizzle and more about, you know, does this serve the overall purpose of the song? And I've also heard you say that you write for yourself first and foremost. You have to be your biggest critic, of course.
Yeah, I hate it. No, but it's yeah, definitely. And I feel very comfortable in having that spot. I mean, there are people on YouTube that just look like can shred for days, and I'm like, it's interesting as fuck, but it's not for me. Yeah.
So, you know, in terms of songwriting, what, you know, who are your biggest influences from the writers? We can all stand here all day and say that James Hetfield is our favorite vocalist and, you know, favorite rhythm guitar player and all that, but I'm sure as someone who got into production and songwriting as much as you, that you've got some, you know, heroes with a little more writing pedigree to their name. You know, people from the Hans Zimmers of the world, if you will.
Yeah.
Who are some of your, you know, writing idols?
I mean, we started obviously as very metal in the beginning. So right out the bat, I was one of those guys who didn't like growling at first. Like I was like, I can't hear what the fuck they're saying. But then I got into Parkway Drive, which has very easy riffs, but they have the songs, right? Even from an early stage. And then obviously Gojira came into the picture, so Joe, like, and Mario,
Brothers, man.
Yeah, I mean, how they write those songs is fucking incredible.
Yeah.
But then my real game changer came when I followed this guy on SoundCloud called Buster Odolm from Humanity's Last Breath. And his mixes was so fucking big, like you know, I've never heard anything like it before. So I wrote to another friend who knew him, like, how does he do that? Can you like extract some information? But then I got so involved with the production side, so the guitar was always secondary. But I always wanted to have that sound with my songs, with my guitar, like, so yeah, bits and pieces here and there that, yeah, evolved into Orbiculture, I guess.
It's so cool how into the extracting different sounds of production you are. You know, a lot of guys will sit here and be like, well, I want the riff to sound like that, and I want this bit of that lead, and I want maybe that kick drum sound. And there's usually a lot of emphasis on different instrument parts, but you're totally in the mindset of the production has to be where it is, and you hear it in your music. The spatial elements of your music, like all the work that you do in post, is so obvious. Like, if you guys don't already know, Orbiculture is best enjoyed with a really nice pair of headphones or very expensive monitors in front of you. The spatial, the panning, the use of effects, and everything you do in post is just as impressive as the songwriting itself.
Thank you. I think since I write pretty easy songs, I have to have that element of production too to make it really stand out. So
I think, not to call anyone else out for their songs being easy and putting an emphasis on production, but you brought up Gojira. I find that a lot of their music, when you break it down to the riffing and the writing, on the simpler side, but the real magic comes from the tones and the production and the way it's all constructed.
Definitely.
It's a similar type of vibe where you can take something simple, but if you present it in the right way, it can be mind-blowing.
Yes, and that's what I feel Gojira does so well. Like they, as you said, tend to be on the simpler side, not with the drumming, of course.
No, dude, he's insane.
But the riffs are like, they're so good, and it just doesn't need to be anything more. But the details in the amps and everything, yeah.
Could you give me maybe an example of a simpler riff that you've written that's been on one of your records that, when stripped down to just basic sitting here with guitars, sounds very simple?
Absolutely.
But we could put it side by side with what it sounds like on the record, and it takes on a whole different form. Yeah, show me something like that.
This is as Kungen from Avatar called this riff. It's a bonde riff. It's a farmer's riff, I guess. So it's very like rednecky, but cool.
Yeah.
It works like it. So this is from a song called Vultures of North, and it just pummels the full song with this shit. Shit like that.
Simple, but when treated the right way, yeah, exactly. The whole thing comes together. So that's kind of the beauty of production and writing.
Yeah.
Love it. Shifting back to the musical journey, the more instrument and putting a band together, when do you stop kind of toying around with Guitar Pro and learning Metallica riffs and kind of start putting together the earliest kind of formation of a band for yourself?
I think I was around 17, 18. I really wanted to have a band of my own. I was just an outsider looking into all the other guys who had bands in my hometown. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a fucking audio interface and show those fuckers that I can do this too on my own.
Because until that point, you were just kind of in your bedroom, miking a little combo amp kind of thing.
So I got the Line 6 pod, the UX.
Classic starter bedroom recording device. Yep.
Drum kit from hell, of course.
Gotta have it.
And then it was just like off to the races, and I don't know how many demos I did, but it became this thing like if I was pissed, bored, or whatever, I could always rely on that. So it turned into like a therapeutical session in some way.
Were you jamming with anyone else or collaborating with anyone else in any way at all, or had you been doing this solely alone up until this point?
No, I have to be honest. Our old guitarist Maximilian, he was, from the get-go, a super great guitar player. So I was always so inspired how like he was like the Steve Vai when we were teenagers. Like, how the fuck do you do that? So I was like, I can record you if you want to. And then we started to form Orbit Culture. So without him, and without that fast knowledge that he gave me, even though I'm not any close near as being that guitar player, he helped me, especially from going from the 3 or 5s to like this is a C, right? Shit like that.
Giving you the framework to expand your musical writing abilities. How long would you say that you were kind of toying around with the idea and the sound and collaborating with Max before it kind of became that original demo that you guys put out? Like, how many drafts of these songs and how many different sounds were there? Was it quite focused on what Orbit Culture would be from the beginning, or did you go through a lot of different ideas and phases?
I think we just, from the start, which is the same idea now, is that we were kind of tired of all gent and metalcore and stuff. Like, where is the Lamb of God?
Yeah.
Sounds. So we just wanted to keep it. Yeah,
riffs.
Like easy riff, like fucking metal, just pure metal. That's what we wanted to do. And up until this day, I know people call us melodic death metal, and obviously there are influences in there, but yeah, we're metal. That's our goal.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, how do you feel about genre tags as a whole? When people talk about your band, they'll use words, as you say, melodic, they'll say death metal, they'll say groove metal. You'll hear people call it tech or progressive in some of the elements. You get a lot of buzzwords thrown at you because of how vast your influences clearly are. What do you really feel? Are you one of those guys who's just like, fuck all that, we're metal? Or do you enjoy kind of hearing people dissect it and make it their own kind of genre tag?
I can respect it, especially for newer fans starting to listen to metal. It can be a fucking jungle. But if you fall for, like, let's say Thal or gent, like, it's cool.
Sure.
But for me, it's always been metal. like the metal as a whole. I don't know how to explain, but I feel it doesn't bother me at all. Like if you want to call it cow shitcore, you can do that. But for me, it's just metal. Yeah.
So would you say that you always knew you wanted to be in a band from that original like aha moment, seeing little kids perform as Kiss?
Yes, yeah.
Like, is it from that moment you knew that was the end goal?
Yeah, it was either that or like trying to get into the horror movie business, like
doing scores.
I don't know, not so much of the music. I was like, I did a lot of like horror movies with my webcam and shit. Like
awesome.
Ketchup all over the place, just blood and shit. Yeah.
So you could have been doing practical effects, or you could have been making records. Yeah.
So it's either of those. Yeah.
I mean, I noticed you're wearing a horror shirt today.
Yeah,
I mean, horror and metal do go hand in hand.
It does, really. Yeah.
You do have some spooky parts in some of your orbit culture. Some of the synth stuff and some of the sample sounding stuff is a little spooky.
Yep.
So you do get to sneak that stuff in there. I see that.
I do all
That's
the time.
Awesome. That's awesome. So you start demoing and getting the band together. How fast until you like put together a lineup and start jamming these songs you've been writing in your bedroom with humans?
That's it went pretty fast. I think 2013 was the year that we released the first set of songs called Odyssey, and we were like, we're gonna fucking take over the world, and we were like, and then we released it, and we're like, nothing happened, like many bands do, I guess. But then the years went by, and we played like a handful of shows in 5 years. So, but I was always at home recording new stuff. But then some of the guys dropped off, and Richard and Frederick on guitar and bass jumped on, and we were like, we should take this really seriously. And ever since that day, it's been baby steps, but it's going in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting, the orbit culture kind of journey, the story of success, if you will. A lot of bands have a similar story where they form in the garage, they write songs together, they play 1 million local shows, and they do like a lot of regional touring, and that's how they build their name and build their name. It's quite a bit of the opposite with you. I think there was a massive lack of live performance, and any of the notoriety that was built was kind of built through YouTube or streaming and stuff like that. It's not the typical way it goes.
And that was very scary. I'm not gonna lie. Like, we built up a pretty solid fan base online, but if we could not deliver, we would be fucked, basically. So we took those 2 years of COVID just rehearsing, recording new stuff, rehearsing. So we would be ready when the world was ready. And I think ever since we, took that stage at Sweden Rock in 2022, which is like basically 10 years after we founded the band, everything has been going like a fucking roller coaster.
Right.
Yeah.
Isn't it ironic when people talk about your band and say like a new hype band, orbit culture? Like, dude, I've been doing this for 11 years, man. Hey, they say it's the rule of 10. If you stick with something for 10 years, you will see the success.
It
doesn't happen overnight.
It does not.
Certainly does not. Contrary to popular belief,
Yep.
None of these new artists are actually new. Hate to break it to you, everybody. They've all been working on their craft for a long time, and that's why they are where they are. So it kind of builds up online in this abnormal way, which is super cool. Was there a difficulty when it came time to play shows and do your first tour in 2019? Was there any difficulty translating these songs that you had written with so many production elements and so many like post elements, if you will? Was there a difficulty translating that into a live performance, kind of not only spatially and the dynamics of it, but also just you having to play and sing at the same time, something I'm sure you had barely done at that point?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm still struggling with, to be honest. No, but we are a very, the sound must be right. The front of house guy must do a good job, unfortunately. But now, during those first shows, like, we couldn't really present it because we couldn't afford having a front of house guy like that. Because we are very, as you said, like very post effect heavy. But now, finally, we can afford having a front of house guys that understand our production. Like we still tend to keep it very basic, like some screams here and there, a big backdrop, and then we're off to the races, right? But especially on this tour that we're doing now, when we have a great sound guy, it really you can see in the audience eyes that like this is how it should sound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because I imagine, you know, in doing your earliest, smallest gigs, there was never a time where you could just stand up there as dudes with guitars and just do it. You always had to have the Pro Tools rig running to properly present all the extra effects that really make the band what it is, right? All that work you put into it.
The problem that we did 2 grand of a songs with the size we were. Like,
fuck, our songs are too good, man. They're too. Their songwriting's too ahead.
The soundscapes were like too big.
Right.
They should be blasting through a big PA. But yeah, we play those songs, and yeah.
It's obviously guys like, you know, Kiss and Metallica make it easy to get into guitar. Who or what is it that kind of makes you want to dive so hard into plugins and sound packs and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think just it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but just trying like a new string pack, it's like, it feels so soothing. I guess, like, holy shit, this sounds so amazing. And it's, you know, when you try a different plugin or a real amp, like, holy shit, you can feel something that's, I can't really put my finger on, but that's like the closest to religion that I get, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Was it like, are you completely self-taught on that level, or did you?
I went to school for 2 years in a tiny place called Storuman in the northern part of Sweden, where it was winter and it was dark, like 20 hours a day.
Freezing cold all the time.
But I was like, I'm up here, I'm gonna actually fucking learn something. So. But 4 days in or whatever, I tend to sleep whole day and work during the night. And my teacher was like, "What are you doing? You're gonna get kicked out." But I can see that you're working, so I will allow that. And that was also a game changer.
Wow.
So I could go to school, but I didn't have to be there. I just had to show my work in the morning and then go back to sleep.
That's awesome.
And that's like unheard of, right?
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah.
I think that everyone would probably stay in school a little longer if they had a teacher catering to them that way. Yeah, you get kicked out of school for something like that.
Also one of those great teachers that you just come across a few moments in your life, like, but it changes so much. Because I had so much trouble in school because I was, you know, oversleeping all the time. But then I came to this school like, yeah, as long as you show some work, you're fine.
Oh, you got really lucky with teachers throughout your career. Look at that, kid. Stay in school.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So was that was like music production courses?
Yeah, it was pretty basic, but it gave me the time to actually be, you know, dwelling into like, how does an EQ work? What is that? And what is a compressor? What are those ratios? Like, I have no fucking clue. Stuff like that. It just gave me the time to actually dig into it.
That's awesome. And you know, when you're writing, what's your relationship with the guitar? Is everything start at a guitar level, or are you more starting with keyboard, or just
definitely guitar level?
Definitely guitars. Like everything starts with a riff kind of idea.
Superior drummer, 4x4, then just hammer away.
Just go,
just
like loop it and just wait for something to happen. Really, just the old.
And
like, they say, throw darts into one of the sticks.
Exactly, yeah. But I mean, 8 out of 10 times you have a shitty day, so you just sit there for 4 hours, nothing happens, and then the next day you can pour out 3 or 4 songs. Like, what the fuck is going on? Save.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, it's true. Sometimes you can force yourself to try and write something and go for hours and hours and hours and nothing happens. And you just go to sleep and wake up the next day and you're like, oh, like wiping the crust out of your eyes and something just pops out. It's the magic. You know, you can never force that moment.
Nope. And it's the other way around with mixing. What I've experienced is that you sit for these long ass hours and then you're like, no, it sounds awesome. But then you go to sleep the next time like, what the fuck did I do?
Sounds like shit on fresh ears.
Yep.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm struggling with.
It's pretty crazy. Like, you know, most of the people I talk to, sure that they could be like the band leader or the lead songwriter, but you're so much more. It's you've got, you know, the writing credits, you've got the mixing credits, you've got the master engineer, all these credits, and artwork. What's up with that? I see you got artwork credits too.
I mean, I think it comes down to I wanted to be in control of so much. I know Mario knows that too. But I was like, holy shit, how do
but
they...
he's the assistant manager,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Yeah, exactly.
But like I see all these cool bands from Sweden, like they do all these cool Facebook banners. I was like, okay, I've written a song, now I have to do that too. Okay. Buy Photoshop, whatever, just try to learn that too. So that's how it works.
Wow, you really just want to get your hands messy with every element of it, right?
Yeah, it's negative and positive, I would say.
That's awesome. I feel like I want to get you to play some more guitar for me. We got you playing through this amp that is not your normal rig, and I'll just pull the veil back a little for people watching. Like, you sat down and just plugged in and turned it on and hit the gain, and you're like, this sounds great.
Yeah.
Nothing, like barely an EQ, barely anything. Like, you know, some people be sitting in front of that thing chonking, and you find, a little more to scoop the mids. Like, no, man, you're just like, this sounds fucking sick. Let's play.
And a huge shout out to Seymour Duncan's with these Black Winters. They are helping 80% of the tone, I would say. So.
Yeah, they're super high output
Yeah.
pickups, those. I have them in, I have the SD2, the ESP, and it's got the Black Winter in there. It's like super high
Fast.
output. Yeah,
Like
awesome sounding pickup. But yeah, I want to give you an opportunity. We're talking about, you know, all this writing and spatial and production stuff. I want you to, you know, play me either something you're working on or something that you love to play. I just want to get more of a sense of you as a player. Throw down some riffing for me. I won't ask you to play cover riffs because you said you don't like learning covers and shit.
I barely know Enter Sandman.
That's crazy.
What is it like? That's it, like the only song that I know.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
Like my style is very... What I did back in the day was I played a lot of drop D. Then for some reason, let's do drop A. But I always like being in the D area anyways. So I'm always writing riffs here. And so a lot of our riffs are based around this, and it's very static things. Like we have a song called Red Fog, which it goes like this. You hear it just shit like that. And same with one of our biggest songs, North Star of Need. Yeah, it's just... So it's very dumb riffs, but it works.
Caveman riffs?
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of stuff in the same position.
Yep.
And a very similar attack, but you make them sound so different. That's why I kind of asked you to play the riff before, because I'm like really excited to put it side by side with the finished product and hear how different it sounds just stripped down like that. But yeah, it's a very, that aggressive percussive attack in the same position is very cool.
I like the tension, like from this fret for some reason with this string gauge. It just feels like that you're playing an open E on a standard tuning. Like it just feels good.
What string gauge are you using?
12 to 68.
68.
Yeah.
I guess for the drop A you got to go way thicker.
And obviously we could do longer scales and shit, but I've always been used to this scale, so bump up the string gauge a bit and you're pretty much fine. And the Evertune helps very much.
I mean, it's literally you can put that guitar in the shower and it'll still stay in tune. Like the Evertunes are crazy, man. Almost to the point where it's like unnatural. Like you can set it to the mode where you can bend the string and the pitch doesn't change. Like that shit's mind blowing. That's some serious technology in that bridge.
It is. crazy engineering.
Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
crazy. Yeah, I have one guitar with an Evertune, and I was like, this is way beyond. I went to go change the strings. I'm like, I don't even know what's going on here, man. This is crazy. Did you ever play 7 strings for these tunings?
I tried, but I feel like my hand is too small. But I guess you get used to it. But I tried it for a bunch of years. I think I recorded 1 or 2 albums with a 7-string. But then I got this Epiphone Explorer, because Hetfield, white one, yeah. And I stuck with that, and then did play solo guitars for a bunch of years.
Ola's company,
yeah, he's a great dude. But then obviously ESP came, and we were like, holy shit, we have to do it now.
they're the best guitars. I mean, there's a reason that we both use them, and a lot of our heroes use them. The engineering on them is incredible.
Yeah, the builds are insane, especially this new one that I got.
This is a really nice one.
Yeah. Unfortunately, already some road bash, but...
There's nothing wrong with that,
no,
it's a guitar. It's meant to be played.
Yeah, give some character to it.
Yeah, you're not a lawyer with a guitar sitting up on the wall that never gets played. No. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
This is a guitar that's meant to be enjoyed, and that's the way to do it.
Definitely.
Hell yeah. It looks like... So did you add the Evertune? It looks like it had a locking nut
it was
up
a
there.
Floyd Rose before.
I can see that.
And I don't know the real history. I don't know if I'm allowed to say anything about it, but it's a rare guitar, I will say that, which I got very lucky. Tony, just like, here you go. Tony Rosser from ESP, yeah.
I saw the back of the headstock. I have an idea of its history. Yeah, I saw that.
But then, sorry, Tony, but I need my Evertune, so I just...
So you took out the Floyd.
Yeah.
Did you never use a Floyd? It's not for you.
It's way beyond my expertise.
No,
it would be cool to have it, but yeah.
Oh no, the Evertune's incredible. If you just want to stay in one tuning and you don't need to do any whammy bar shit or dive bombs, like that is... Yeah, man, because you could literally have a delayed flight before a festival, land at the festival, and have to pull your guitar out of the case and play, and it's perfectly in tune. I'll never forget, I did a show, like a show like this with Ben Weinman from Dillinger once. Yeah. And he had one of his guitars shipped from ESP. It was in Canada, across the border, in the middle of winter, like the worst conditions you could think of. And the guitar gets there, and it's in a cardboard box. And he's like, hey, open that. Strum it, guarantee it's perfectly in tune. I'm like, dude, there's no way this thing's perfectly in tune. And it had the Evertune, and sure enough, perfectly in tune after all that exposure to the elements and, the pressure in the airplane, all that stuff. Like, those Evertunes are witchcraft. I mean, they're witchcraft.
Game changer. It's, some stuff you want to do in the studio, like some small intricate bends, like, but for rhythm guitar playing, as me being a rhythm guitar player myself, it's saved me so much headache. Yeah, both in studio and live. Yeah.
I mean, how much time do people spend in the studio tuning guitars?
Exactly,
this is the way. This is the way. Take me through kind of like the rest of your rig. Obviously, you're rocking Evertunes, and Seymour Duncans, ESP guitars. What else is your weapons of choice?
These last few years, since we joined ESP, basically, I've started to use a lot of snake bites, obviously.
James. More James guitars.
Yeah, and but it's I was like, when I tried it first, I'm like, holy shit, this is not only a James Hetfield signature, it fucking plays so well. So they did a great job in getting that. But a lot of snake bites, the white one, several black ones, even the camo one. And, they play so well. But the camo one, I don't want to bring out. I don't want to have that road bash. That's a lawyer guitar.
Yeah, there you go. That's the showpiece for the office. It's true. Those look really cool.
But a lot of snake bites. And when it comes to gear-wise, it's just plugins these days. Neural DSP all the way. But I might check into EVH. I'm hearing that Stealth is pretty fucking killer.
The Stealth sounds amazing. Yeah. I think the 5153s are amazing too. That's what I've been using. The EL34 one especially. It's like, I say if Eddie was alive today, that's the amp he'd be playing. That 5153 with the EL34s, oh, dude,
sick.
Stupid good.
Gonna check it out.
Yeah. What's the deal with using plugins. So you're not using a quad. You're like running straight plugins.
Yep. And
how does that work?
We had the laptop with Cubase, all the plugins lined up. Going into the Apollo X8, that routing, and then it just gets sent out to our splitter and the front of house, and there we go. So all the changes, clean, delays, lead, and all that is automated in Cubase.
Okay, so it's all like switching automated on a grid, right?
And that was also one of the choices that we made. Like, instead of having these big pedal boards with effects, we were like, we want to be able to run around the stage like crazy, switching mics and shit. We're like, and obviously the real reason was that we wanted to shrink down our rig to be able to fly everywhere. Obviously the Quad Cortex is very fly friendly too, but just works for us.
Yeah, that's a pretty sophisticated setup to run everything on the grid with the MIDI switching and everything like built in like that. That's like some arena shit right there.
Yeah, we try to.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of doing it. You can just focus on playing, and as long as your drummer's playing on time, everything should line up, right?
Yeah, and fortunately he does. He's a very good drummer.
That's the key.
Yeah, but we were like, if the laptop goes, what happens then? We were like, holy shit. Let's buy another laptop.
Yeah, what's the fail-safe? I was going to say a B-rig, an identical B-rig.
So it's just an easy switch. But yeah, that's how we roll.
That's awesome. And everyone running through like one laptop just like that? Yeah. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's nerve-wracking, so we never talk about it. We just let it run in peace.
Just keep it off to the side. Don't look at it. Don't breathe on it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, you can take the show literally anywhere and it'll sound the same every night. No live cabinets on stage?
No, but we're actually for this next tour that we're doing, we're actually considering doing like a hybrid, both plugins and cabinets and shit. I haven't really figured out how it's gonna work yet with all the switches, but what I'm missing is some air in the back, if that makes sense.
That's what I was gonna say. Is I think that from an audience perspective, except for maybe the people in the front rows, no one in the audience can tell that you don't have a live cabinet on stage because they're hearing front of house. But I find that the people in the first rows or the PAs above their head, and for you on stage, feeling the air behind you, that live cabinet, I mean, there's a reason why, it all goes back to Metallica. James has a live cabinet on stage, even though they're using all those Kemper profiles, right? It's still to have that ability to walk back and touch something while you're feeling the feedback on it. There's something to be said about that, and that the air behind you. But yeah, the hybrid, I think the hybrid's the move.
Yeah, I think so too. We've been trying out the Quad Cortex too, but I really I haven't had the time, between all these tours to really figure it out. But yeah.
I use it at its bare minimum. Like, I can tell it can do so much more than what I use it for, to the point where it's almost frustrating. I'm like, I just wish this was simpler. Like, I just need a live rig. Like, I don't need like all the impulse responses, and I don't need all the like, I played through a cab. I don't need all the like different, cab sims, and it's just,
I feel
this thing can do a lot, man. And the multi-output, you can, as we were talking before we started rolling, you can run entire bands.
That's sick.
You can run 2 guitar players and a bass player through one unit. It's a pretty interesting way, pretty modern way of doing things, don't you think?
Yep.
Yeah.
It was the same. I used to own the Axe-Fx too.
Yeah.
And it was, as you said, like, you can do so much on it. Your head just explodes. Because, like, what is a sag button? I have no fucking clue what that is. Like, shit like that,
Yeah, I mean, it's getting to a point, I think for a long time I made the argument that nothing would ever replace tube heads, and, old school was the way to do it, and there's a reason why our heroes all used amps, and I was like really intent on never switching. And then I started playing a Quad Cortex last year, and I'm like, dude, it kind of sounds the same as my head. Like, my head is already profiled in there. I picked out, I'm like, this sounds like a Red Channel EVH 5150. This is kind of perfect. That's awesome. So, I know that you're here in LA wrapping up what's been a fucking insane run for you guys.
It's been fucking insane,
What's next? We headed home to work on new tunes. It's been pretty much exactly a year since the last record. What are we thinking next for the culture?
I have a bunch of demos. we actually gonna go through. We have rented a house here now in Los Angeles, which very luxurious for us, I would say. Some of the record label guys from Central Media is coming down, so we're gonna listen through the demos and like, okay, is that a single? Is that a music video? Like all that kind of shit, because you can really feel what what song is gonna be the single or whatever. So that's what we're gonna do here after this tour wraps up, and then I'm just gonna go home, rest for a few days, and then start to figure out the pieces and make the demos actual finalized tracks.
That's awesome. Dude, I hope you enjoyed the rest of your time in beautiful California.
Thank you.
And have a safe trip back home. Thank you for hanging out and defending the riff
Yeah,
with me this
fuck
afternoon.
yeah, man.
Take me out, man. Fucking riff it out. Let's get out of here.
What should we do?
Take us over the Norbiculture riff, man. Just fucking shred
All right.
it.